This week's map, Horsch Agrovation, comes from the DLC, Horsch Agrovation. From what I can tell, this map falls into the same sort of trap that a lot of maps come with Farm Sim from other people that I've spoken to, where the equipment is fantastic, however, the map that comes with it is pretty subpar. I think one of the exceptions to this is Silver Run Forest because I really enjoyed that map. However, this one was a little bit bland. That being said, you can click the link in the description down below and you can check this DLC pack out if you decide that you want to have a go at it, because again, the equipment is actually really good. The map itself is underwhelming. It's hard to describe because they have gone out of their way to make these really massive fields, right? Where the largest one in the center is something like 85 hectares large, which is great, but then there's nothing to do on the map itself. There's a few sell points. There's not much production. You've got the biogas plant down here and you've got the sawmill, but that's really it. And you've got a sawmill, but not that many trees, not that many treed areas at all. You've just got these massive fields that aren't incredibly level, that are very odd shaped. So wanting to build anything on any of the land you buy is going to be incredibly difficult. Also, if you go to farmland here, you can see that you can buy lots of concreted areas, but the concrete areas you'd probably want to buy, you can't. Again, this makes it incredibly difficult for anybody who wants to maybe build out their productions and really turn this map into something that could be really cool. I have bought land 14 and I can't actually build anything on land 14. I've got this little concrete area down here that I can buy and build stuff on, but it's very, very small. I built a farmhouse. I had to maneuver it around cars that are parked there because you can't get rid of those either. It's disappointing. It makes the map very, very dull. On top of which, if you ever want to own plot 16 or field 9, it's going to cost you £5.5 million to get, which is going to be an incredibly slow process when you can't make any productions. It's so backwards. They'd have been better halving the side of this field and making it, just giving us more areas. The problem is that I've played Oberthal and that has raised my standards for large map by miles, by actual miles, because that does big maps, big fields very, very well. I get that the point of this map is to encourage you to use the Horsch Agrovation stuff. I'm going to go through everything that you get with that pack in a second, and you could do that with the normal stuff. That's not to say that the Horsch equipment isn't good, because it is, but it's not stand out, oh, I'd rather use this. There are bits and pieces that I would probably use different equipment for on this map because of the size of the fields. Looking at the Horsch equipment, again, it's actually pretty good and well balanced, but there are other things in the base game that do the same job for around the same money. So it's not really stand out for this map and for the fields that are the size they are that would make you want to choose Horsch over other things. And that's the big problem. The map doesn't sell the equipment. The equipment sells itself on other maps, especially with the discount store and stuff where you can pick up some of the Horsch stuff for incredibly cheap, which is what I did on Oberthal. I picked up the Cedar, this one, for 46 grand, which is an absolute steal. But you do get these two items. You get the cultivator and the disc harrow in the base game anyway, but again, you're not going to be using these at 3 and 4 meter width. Like, you're just not. You do have a mulcher, which I need to start using on my games, and that's 9 meters wide. That's pretty decent. But again, for a field like 9, you're wanting something that's just massive, and the game doesn't provide that. You've got another mulcher here, which is 12.2, which is a little bit better. But again, the price difference between 9 meters and 12 is huge. 35 to 78 grand. You're doubling the price. It's obscene. You've got a little cultivator here, 6 meters wide, and then you've got the bigger ones here at 8.2 and 7.5. Again, I'm not going to use these, especially on the fields that we've got here. I'd rather use the Russell Mash, which has a 12 meter width and is only a little bit more. Or you can go for the big boy cultivators, which have like a 15 meter width, which again, on field 1, field 9, and field, I think it is 5 on this one, you're going to want those extra widths, like you're going to want those extra meters. The tank is more expensive and you only get 100 extra liters, so that's not really worth the money in my opinion. Then you've got your bog standard seeder, which is exactly the same width as the base game. They do have this little Pronto 3DC, which is only 3 meters wide, but it has got a decent literage where you can add the fertilizer. But again, on this map, it's going to be completely useless. Now, the Pronto 6DC is a little bit different. It's roughly around the same price as the Pottinger. It does go up when you add the extra capacity for fertilizer, but it's a really good deal. Like, this is a good seeder. It's a little bit small at 6 meters wide, again, for this map, and that is the problem that you're going to have with all of the equipment that is meant to be sold on this map, is that it's not right for the map. You've then got the bigger seeder here, which is 12 meters. This is a bit better, but it's £200,000. The literage is really good, but it's so very expensive, and there are other seeders for around the same money, if not a little bit cheaper, that have greater width or the same width. You've got the little planter here, which again, you're not going to be using on this map. You will need to couple that with the tank as well. And then you've got the big planter here, which again, 12 meters, 208,000, 9,000 litre capacity. It's not bad. Like, these equipment, or this pieces of equipment, are sold because of their literage, right? You're going to spend that extra money because you get so many more 1,000 litres, and that is going to be really useful when you're on those big fields. 12 meters is admirable. Again, I'm fairly sure there are bigger on the base game. Then you've got your weeders and your hose. I mean, you know, 24 meters wide is pretty good. I generally use the pneumatic style, the big weeder, because that also seeds as well. But as a weeder goes, it's not a bad deal. It is very expensive, but it does have 24 meters wide, which actually on this map is going to be pretty useful. The hoe, again, 12 meters wide, not bad. I don't generally use hose. I try and weed or spray, but it's not a bad price. And again, 12 meters is amicable. So yeah, overall, like, the pack itself is really good. So what is the map actually like to drive around, to farm on, to look at? Honestly, pretty dull. And that's been one of my big issues with it, is on top of the fact that there's not a lot of longevity in the map, in my opinion, it's also really dull to drive around. Because the fields are so big, you have to go on these long sprawling roads and there's nothing going on. It looks like a lot of sort of marshland and poorly taken care of grass and weeds, with a few business parks put up here and there. The actual business parks are a bit of a ball ache to get around as well, and the amount of times that I've almost fallen off that bridge does not even bear thinking about. You do have some interesting areas on the map, but to get to them you've got to go through a lot of dull. The other issue I've got is that there's no longevity in this map. There's nothing to really make me excited about playing it. There's no areas that I can utilize and customize, you know, my own unique tastes. There are some scrap metal bits here and there, which is kind of cool, but for the most part it's just big biogas plant, shopping area where you get your stuff, annoying sort of drop points that you've got to try and get to, and not a lot in between. The fields themselves do have a few problems as well. Not only are they massive, but they fall into this same sort of trap that giants do often, which is where the fields will be whatever shape they are, but they're all very, very straight edges, and it feels very manufactured. It doesn't feel nice to farm around when you've got to go at a really weird 90-degree angle to go up and then down again. On top of that, they do have these telephone poles and things that go through the map, and I thought I was going to have to drive around them. I thought it was going to be quite challenging and a little bit interesting, because living near some farms myself, I know that that is a thing, but you can just phase through them. Whilst that makes it interesting and a little bit easy, it also makes it a bit less realistic. Now, I'm not one to go for full-on realism, but if you're going to put something in the middle of a field, at least let me go around it and it be real. Like, you've got trees that are real, you've obviously got real obstacles, but for the most part, the telephone poles and anything that spawns inside the field except for trees, you can just drive through. I was left wanting with this map, and again, I would much prefer if they'd just cut field 9 in half and then put some more areas, more life into the map, where they had some production going, they had a reason for doing the things that we do on Farm Sim, and they just don't have that. I get why to a degree, but then at the same time, the Horsch equipment isn't really suited to fields that are this massively big. And there are other things in the base game that you can get that do pretty much the same job for usually a little bit less. So there you go. Let me know in those comments down below what you think of this map, whether you've played it, whether you would buy the DLC for the map and the equipment, or just the equipment, because again, on other maps, especially if you pick it up in in the discount store, the Horsch equipment is incredibly good. I just feel like it's been mismatched and poorly represented by this map. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and I will see you all next time. Ciao, ciao.